Hello and welcome. Glad you've tuned in. Hope you're all having a blessed day. So I want to start off and just get straight to the point. I watched the interview that Sophie Chandauka had with Sky News on Sunday, March the 30th, and there's some things that just stood out to me that I had to correct here. And if we're going to be talking about the truth and what someone did and what someone did not do, I think the facts matter. So without further ado, let's just start debunking. Fascinating to have the interviewer who already claimed they knew each other, but having these pointed moments of asking her about what former trustees had said about her and what she herself in that statement had said about Harry, and seeing her response. I was watching her and the man who was with her, Ian Rawlinson, and watching their body language and the way they were responding to things. And we're not here to talk about body language and that, but there are some things that stood out to me that were immediate, like red flags, and things that she said that did not make sense. And I have been waiting. I think it's interesting sometimes when you just wait and let the person talk and talk and talk and talk, because sometimes it's in the things they say that you catch them in the things that contradict everything that they're talking about. So this is the first thing. The individual she's with is Ian Rawlinson. A lot of you on Twitter brought to my attention that this particular individual is a trustee of Tusk Trust. And he has been a trustee there from 2002 and chair from 2004 to 2013. So this charity focuses on wildlife habitat and communities in Africa. So basically what they do is conservation projects and that kind of thing. So it is interesting that Prince William is its royal patron, and this man, Ian Rawlinson, he chaired Tusk's development board from 2014 to 2020, and he remains as honorary vice president, which brings me to my first point. That's a very interesting connection. But number one, there's something that Sophie Chandauka said about the people who have been calling her out, the trustees of Sentabale, those who stepped down. And one of them was a baroness who apparently had been one of the trustees for about 19, 20 years or something like that. And she said that that's not how, trustees do things. Those are not the things that they do. And right there, sitting right next to her, is a man who has been a trustee from 2002 to Tusk Trust, is still there as an honorary vice president, and all the other roles that he's had within that charity. So that was just very strange to hear her calling out people in Sentabale who've been there and been there and been there, when right next to her is an individual who is at Tusk Trust from 2002 to 2020. Someone do the math. Anyway, so that was a strange contradiction right there. And then this caught my attention. She was asked about the foundings of Sentabale, and she says this, quote, "Harry and Prince thought that they were uniquely placed to respond to the needs of orphans and vulnerable children, and this was in 2006, end quote." So she also goes on to say that Lesotho is a very small country within South Africa, and she says, quote, "But as you roll on to 2024, the issues in Southern Africa are actually quite different. HIV and AIDS is no longer a death sentence, and our organization is really looking at those other elements in the ecosystem that affect the health and well-being of young people. And so at Sentabale, we're focused on health and wealth and on climate resilience of young people in Lesotho and Botswana," end quote. So that's interesting. She seems to be saying that this charity, founded by Prince Harry and Princess, after seeing the need of all of the children orphaned by HIV and AIDS and all the effects that it was having on them, the poverty, the lack of education, that's not such a big deal these days. We need to move on to what she said. But this huge blanket term of health, wealth, and this is the thing that just was a red flag, climate resilience. That for me, it just set off alarm bells. And it's been interesting that I have noted that from about a year ago, but for some reason I had noticed on their website that they were moving towards topics like climate change. And my question was, this was not the foundation of this organization. Harry had those iconic images of him holding those children, and it's a bit tone deaf to tell people who Harry himself was a teen when he was holding those babies that the thing that has brought them the hardship is no longer the main focus of this organization that was founded in the honor of Prince Harry and Princesso's mothers, that they need to move to the pressing issues in a country which is basically described on websites as an undiscovered kingdom, and where its country's population leads a life as it was common centuries ago, a place which has unspoiled and unknown worlds. Their most pressing issue, listen to this people, is climate change. You'd think that they were just chugging smoke into the atmosphere like in China. What is going on? And by the way, I want to add this in here. It is not a problem for African countries to industrialize as long as they do so responsibly. So no one is saying also industrialization is bad, but this country in particular is mostly mountainous, unspoiled, remote. So these are not the pressing issues of Lesotho. And I don't know if some of you want to look into this. I was trying to look through the things they're trying to do in terms of industrialization that might make this such a hot topic for the new leadership of Sentabale. And a quick Google search said that they are focused on industrialization in terms of textiles, and they also want to have food processing. Fantastic! Tourism and agriculture. And also they want to have private sector involvement. And this one caught my eye. They are focused now on diamond mining, which I always wonder about that. Whenever minerals have been found in certain African nations, all of a sudden, they have to be very careful about these individuals who come out from overseas wanting to oversee, no pun intended, what they are doing. So it's odd. That has never been Harry and Seiso's focus for all the years that they have been in Lesotho. They have always focused on HIV and AIDS and the impact that it has had on the area. So Lesotho does not need that external force of people who come in with a savior complex to oversee everything that's happening there and trying to make them not move forward as a country, as an economy. That has never been on the plate. Lesotho needs all the boost that they can get, and climate change for them, I'm going to say this here, unapologetically, it is not top on their list of to-do or their necessities in that area, which are looking to overcome poverty. So that has never been Harry or Prince Seiso's focus. So why it was changing over these last couple of years is just so strange. So I wanted to add that in here. And thinking about the mining, I'm going to say this first of all as a disclaimer to the next statement that I'm going to make unapologetically. First of all, I'm one who believes in taking care of the environment around, no polluting, no littering, planting trees, and that. But I have recently become sensitized. A lot of Africans, in fact, have become sensitized to how the name climate change and, climate-related issues have been used as a guise for corporations and individuals to especially go to Africa and claim carbon credits and buy up huge swaths of land, and thousands upon thousands of acres have been sold to people and corporations using that banner of carbon credits. So they get to pollute wherever they are, but they say they've cordoned off 1,000 acres in Africa, which, will stay underdeveloped for the next so-and-so years. So that's the deals they make. This is now my next statement. I think that Harry and Prince Seiso founding of Sentabale was so good. Their mission, noble, to positively impact those who had been affected by HIV and AIDS in Africa, and to uplift them and not to come in with this savior mentality, but to listen and to work with those communities in them solving their own issues. And that was always what Harry said. He did not come in to dictate, but to listen and learn. But it does seem with the specific tagline of climate resilience that there is a diversion from the original purpose of this charity, seemingly a co-opting of a vision of an organization that has been so tried and tested and trusted in this region. Is it possible that their vision might have been co-opted? Someone could have suggested this as one of the new ways that they could use Sentabale to do good. But now look, it seems that even the statement of it being health, not even HIV and AIDS, health, wealth, And climate resilience is now taking center stage. Harry and Princeso need to be careful about Sentabale, which has been so beneficial, being co-opted. How would you go to a remote place and tell them now, in the midst of all of the issues they're facing, HIV and AIDS, poverty, a lack of proper education and healthcare that needs to be up to standard, and you tell them, you know what, it's time to plant trees. That's the thing that's high up, preaching to them about climate resilience. These are people who stayed in this area for thousands of years. They know their environment more than anyone else around them. They have lived in harmony with it. Yes, I'm all for planting trees and forestation, but that is not high up on the priority of Lesotho. These are people who need education, healthcare services. They need to have those impacted by HIV and AIDS constantly looked after. And for example, if they really wanted to talk about climate resilience, in quotes, being the new topic of Lesotho that is high up on their goals, the region doesn't even make sense. It would make sense, say, along the Sahel region of Africa, where they have been having large-scale reforestation efforts. That, yes, let's do that. Plant trees, restore the degraded land. There it would make absolute sense, restoring the ecosystem there through planting trees. You know, they have that whole, the Great Green Wall, where they're going to plant so many trees to stop that desertification. Yes, it would make sense there as a top priority issue, because we've also seen it working. It has been sustainable. The community has gotten involved, even having animal and plant species burgeoning just because of the good work that they have done. Top priorities in the Sahel region, yes. In Lesotho, maybe not so much. So I think they needed to stay on track, stay on mission. And all things work for good. Maybe all of this came about to bring to light something that might have been going off course with them, because now as Lesotho is looking into mining, they need to be careful of the thousands of acres that they have, that they are not co-opted under the names of those who might try to come in with savior mentalities from the West or from wherever, telling them, preaching to them how they can't use areas of land to develop their own country, but other people buying up those same properties in the name of climate resilience. That could be something that can happen. We know how organizations start off with great intentions, but then something comes in and starts making them go off on a route that they had never thought. And sometimes it's very well intentioned. So who knows? So I'm going to tell Harry and Princeso just to keep on target. This was about HIV and AIDS. It was about poverty. It was about uplifting those impacted. It was so focused on that, so they don't need to get off message. The number 2 thing that stood out to me when she was in her interview was this. She talked about how when she was, put on the board as the chair, she said she opened up the books and she looked at the annual report and minutes and looked to see the 7-year historical review of the financials. And she said it was obvious to her that they had lost quite a number of corporate sponsors and families and individuals who are donating to the organization. So she said that there was a correlation between the time Harry went to the US, and then she said that people were not bringing that up to him. So my question is, correlation does not equal causation. Harry moved to the US in 2020, right? During the pandemic, where the whole world was shut down. Did she ever think that perhaps why donations were going down was because everywhere in the world was shut down and maybe people weren't giving as much? So she immediately equates that with, it's because Harry moved. And that's odd, because in the time that Harry has been in the US, his brand is strong. It is not toxic, according to what she tried to insinuate there when she was asked. Harry has been appointed to so many other organizations. African Parks put him there in charge, no matter what issues they're having there, which have nothing to do with Harry per se, as much as some of the press have tried to, pin certain people's actions on Harry. But we've seen him also be put on Better Up. We've seen Harry getting all of the love at the Invictus Games. So what she's saying is not making sense. I just wanted to say that there. So share your thoughts on that. The third thing, when she was asked about the claim of poor governance and that one of the former trustees, I think it was a trustee or a board member, Dr. Kelly, said that he did not recognize the picture that she was painting. She said that he had the worst attendance. And it was interesting at that moment to see one of the trustees who had just been recently appointed, Ian Rawlinson, wanting to speak up about this man's lack of attendance. And I'm like, how did you even know he was not there? You're speaking like you had total authority, like you were a fly on the wall. What? Didn't this man get brought on like 2 or 3 days ago? So it was just odd. And also it was interesting that she brought along someone who she had appointed like 2 or 3 days ago, and not, for example, one of the over 500 members of Sentabale to back her up, who had been in the organization, who had seen the lack of proper leadership according to her. It's so odd. It was so odd. And she brings along this new hire, so to speak up for her. That was also not making sense. Why is a new team member being there to speak up for her? They could have had someone on Zoom who was there at Sentabale all the years to chime in for her and say, yes, this is how they were treating. But no, she's here with a new guy on the block speaking up about people's lack of attendance. How could he have known? That was also not making sense to me, to see him chiming in. Anyway, whatever. Share your thoughts on that. There's a lot this lady said, and I'm glad we've all just kept quiet to hear her speak. And also she was asked about Baroness Chalker of Wallasey, who also said she was dictatorial. And this is her response. To that she answered, change is hard for some people. Let me put it in that way. And then she quickly pivoted, saying that she had overstayed at the charity. She didn't even answer what she was asked about. As I mentioned, she said that there were people on the board that had overstayed, of course, referencing the Baroness. She said that that's not how a properly run organization should work. You should not be on the board past 9 years. This is what she said, quote, most of these individuals were there for 5, 10, 15, now 19 years. So what you have is entrenchment, she said. End quote. So now I'm asking, she herself had been on the board intermittently. Was this not a problem for her before? Did she not think to bring this up? So it's only a problem now? Odd. So she also talked about Netflix. Now, where have some of us heard Netflix being an issue before? Isn't that with the trolls who troll Harry and Meghan online? Remember, whenever the cameras would be at any polo event, they would say, oh, there is Harry and Meghan merchandising, making the Invictus Games, their personal PR machine, and that it should be taken away and given to William. How many of you have seen people saying that? And also when we saw the cameras at one of the polo events, I remember some of the trolls having that same line of thought, saying, see how Sentabale has become the PR machine for Harry and Meghan. And it was very odd to find Sophie Chandauka also trying to lean into that, saying that the cameras were there. Harry called the team and said he's doing a Netflix show and I'd love to have the camera crew come on. Which organization that relies on charity would say, no, thank you. We don't need any more exposure. Keep the cameras away. Thank you very much. So according to Sophie, it was a problem for her. How odd. And then she talked about the polo game held in 2024. She references Harry bringing his wife Meghan and saying that they did not know Meghan would come. And when she did, it was like everything needed to be choreographed for Meghan. Now, first of all, this is so weird. Nacho Figueras brought his wife, Delfina. Meghan herself being in the US, it would not be such a stretch that she would want to support her husband in his charity. So it was very strange. She tried to make it sound like it was a problem for Meghan to show up. And then she says Meghan brought a very famous friend. And then there was all that hoopla that went along with that. By the way, she's framing this as a huge problem for people who have high value to attend an event. Serena herself, who could easily give millions to this organ. Listening to this lady speak was something else, I've got to say. Many of her talking points in that interview were so contradictory to what someone who is a CEO of a charity would say and would do. Strange for someone who is trying to put forth an organization that would love to have donors. She was trying to make it sound like it was a huge problem for high value people to attend the event. That was just a bad move. Anyway, so she talks about that moment on the stage where Meghan goes up to give Harry the trophy, which she has done time and time again. It's a moment between a husband and a wife. It has been replayed on and on for so many years. We've even seen it in previous generations where Princess Diana would go up and give then Charles a kiss with the trophy. So she made it sound it was odd that Meghan would go on stage to give him the trophy and give him a kiss. She talked about choreography going badly on stage, in quotes. And she said we had too many people on stage. The international press captured this, and there was a lot of talk about the Duchess and the choreography on stage and whether she should have been there. Listen to that. This is her quote, and her treatment of me, in quotes. And then she also went on to say Harry asked her to issue some sort of statement in support of the Duchess, and she said no. I mean, how many of you feel comfortable standing between a husband and a wife at an official event? How many of you would just muscle in there and say, yeah, this is my spot? This whole argument was not making any sense. This is just unbelievable as I'm recounting this to you, as I'm reading this. These are her quotes, right? So basically she's trying to say that the trolling press had... It's like someone getting their talking points from the Mail on Sunday or trolls on Twitter, because that's what the trolls were talking about. No other major station, I'm talking CNN, just name them, had any story like that. But if you went to the gutter press, of course, they had to make anything that Harry and Meghan did that year as they were suing them up and down to be this huge hoopla. So it was so strange. Her talking points are very strange. Talking about Meghan in an organization which has to do with only Prince Harry and Princess. Strange enough, she does not mention Princess in all of this. She has a lot of heat for Harry, but none for Princess, none for the trustees who all stepped down. But Harry, she's accusing him of this, that, and the other, misogyny. And when she was asked pointedly, are you accusing Harry? Is he guilty? That's how the interviewer asked. Guilty of bullying, harassment, misogyny. She doesn't point out exactly what he did. She just gives this overview of him giving a press statement with Princess, but she leaves Princess out. And it is so strange that in her statement, she really chose to call out Prince Harry and in a way burn that bridge when his statement in Princess was very broad and vague, talking about how, they could not believe what had happened. It was just vague. It wasn't an attack on her. But her statement, without a doubt, in the beginning, her first statement, was so pointedly against Harry, was calling him out using many of the talking points that we've seen. We've also heard that insinuation about Harry concerning victim cards and whinging and whining of sorts. So what is going on? There's something so strange that is going on here behind the scenes, but the truth will always prevail. I just want to focus on this. I could go on and on. There's something strange she said coming towards the end of the interview. And I will quote it here so that no one can say I put words in her mouth. So she was asked about the future of Centabale without the Duke of Sussex, whether it had a future. And this is what she said, quote, "Absolutely, Centabale has a future. We must stop infantilizing Centabale. Centabale is 19 years old, and Centabale is here because of the people in Africa who do the work every single day. Prince Harry visited Africa for the first time in 5 years when I asked him to last year. Who do you think it was running the show during the pandemic, before the pandemic, and after the pandemic? Centabale will live. Centabale will live on because of the people." End quote. A lot of ATT in that, a lot of attitude in that statement. So firstly, every charity that is run, it's not a must that, the founders or the patrons live in the same country. I could just reference Ian Rawlinson, who works with Prince William in Tusk. We know Prince William is not based anywhere in Africa. That point aside, it's interesting that she said that Harry only visited Africa for the first time in 5 years in 2024. I would like to debunk her statement right now. Prince Harry is no stranger to Africa. He counts it as a second home. And Harry visited Mozambique and Rwanda in his role as president of African Parks in 2022. I covered that on this channel. Harry even met with the president of Rwanda. What is she talking about? Harry went to Nigeria earlier in the year in 2024. What is she talking about? Was she the one who invited him there? My goodness. So let's just sit back and let this lady talk. Don't attack her on social media. She tried to say that, Harry had weaponized the press and she called it the Sussex machine. That was very strange. So don't feed into her. Just let her talk. And also the man next to her, red flags all around. So we hope that Centabale does not move on to this climate change, whatever, because that has never been the foundation of this organization. They were about HIV and AIDS and the impact on the young people in Lesotho, Botswana. They need to stay on message. If Sophie wants to start something with Ian Rawlinson about climate change, that's up to them. And it's also interesting, she did say that Sentabale was going on without Harry during the pandemic. I bet you, as a chair of an organization that has a patron and founder called Prince Harry, all you do to make calls is say, I'm calling as CEO of this and this organization whose patron or founder is Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex. We're looking for donors. We're looking for people to partner with us for this, that, and the other. And I'm sure that his name alone was opening up so many doors for them. She doesn't have to make it look like it was such a grueling workload to have to name drop Prince Harry's name, because that name alone opens up so many doors. Let's just pray for Prince Harry and Meghan. It is so strange to see this woman also putting Meghan's name out there for her to get caught up in some kind of negative press headlines about her when Meghan has nothing to do with anything that has been discussed. So she talks about bullying, misogyny. Many of her talking points look like they could have come from Daily Mail or the roster of those who do not like Harry and Meghan. So these are my standouts. I could go on and on, but this video is already at this length and I want to know your thoughts in the comment section below. And now, before we log off, allow me here to thank those of you who support this channel financially and shout out a couple of you here by name. A very special thank you to you. Lydia Washington. I would like to take a moment to express my sincere gratitude for your kindness and for your contributions towards this community. You make such a significant difference by your presence. You are kind and thoughtful and such a blessing to me and to all of us here. I truly love you. Thank you for being one of the channel moderators as well. God bless you and thank you. And now a very special thank you to you. Magdalene J.N.O. Baptiste, thank you for the unwavering support and for being a member here on this channel. You mean so much to me, and I am so happy that you are a part of this channel here and for the positive impact that you have made on this channel through your giving and your love. Thank you for your kindness and support. You are appreciated, loved, and cherished. Thank you and God bless. And now a very special thank you to those of you who gave during the last live. Thank you to you, Olivia Johnson. I truly appreciate how you go above and beyond and the love that you have continued to extend towards me and to all of us here on this channel through your giving. You being a part of us here makes this place so much better and your light shines so bright. I hold you dear and you are treasured. Thank you and God bless you and yours. Once again, thank you to all who support this channel financially, to those who like, comment, and share. Thank you. If you liked this one, give it a thumbs up, click subscribe. It helps out the channel. Follow on social media. Links will be in the cards and at the end screen. Have a great day. Leave your comments below and I will catch you in the next one. Have a blessed one.